LGBTQ, it's a hidden agenda, and they don't know who they are anymore. They don't feel loved and accepted who they were. They don't feel loved and accepted who they are now. It's not your fault you're confused. It's a fallen world. All of the power, all of the riches, all of the glory are yours. Just accept the free gift of forgiveness and salvation. No condemnation. The earth will cast out the dead. That's a rapture verse if I've ever heard one. I don't know how many of you have seen that kayak commercial where there's these creepy dolphin hybrid looking cabal dudes. I'm just saying, start to look at the symbolism around you. They tell you what they're doing and they're not hiding it anymore. It's blatant. All you have to do is open your eyes to see it. All of the plagues came from the dust. The lice, the flies, the frogs, the locusts. Everything on this planet comes from the dust and will return to the dust. Daniel 12:2, those that sleep will awake. That's a rapture verse too. I would rather be known as the little girl with a patch who was a little weird. I would much rather be the little girl who was broken than the little girl who did the breaking. Viewer discernment is advised. Hi guys, my name is Michelle. This is Journaling with Jesus. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back. So I have a few things to share with you today, and I'm gonna get to my journals. I'm sorry if you guys are waiting on that. I'm gonna get there, but I just keep getting so much more things from the Lord, and I feel like this one is for now. So I'm gonna read it because most of my time today was spent in Bible study and then getting further revelation from the Lord. So I'm just gonna read it and share it to you because I just journaled as I went. But then he kind of indicated to me that there's gonna be times when I'm gonna share journal entries to get you guys moving along on your path. And then there's gonna be times when I'm gonna share words that are for now. And today is one of those cases. It's for now. There's a lot of symbolism in the Bible, and my daughter kind of made me realize this the other day because she kind of screamed at me. She goes, "Would you stop talking in Bible riddles?" I can't help it. You know, when you study the Bible as much as I do, or as I have been over the last 3 years, you do start to talk that way, and then people don't understand you. So I've found that it's only alienated me even more from the world. I was always kind of a weirdo, Star Wars nerd, geek. When I was little, I had an eye patch, and I grew up with those kids from kindergarten to high school. And though I appreciate the fact that I can see now, because if my father wouldn't have done that, I probably wouldn't be able to see very well. But it scarred me for my entire life. But what we need to realize is that everything in life can be seen as either good or bad. And the way that I look at that now is I wanted to be popular when I was little, but the popular kids are really mean, and I didn't like being on the other end of the teasing. And so I wouldn't want to be known as a mean girl for all my life. I would rather be known as the little girl with a patch who was a little weird, but just wanted to be loved and wanted to be accepted, instead of the girl who was mean and scarred someone for life. I would much rather be the little girl who was broken than the little girl who did the breaking. So I'm thankful that I was persecuted because it saved me from being the mean girl. So, all right, so I'm gonna talk about a few things here, and I'm just gonna read, okay? So God had led me to a video about why Jesus wrote on the ground. And honestly, I only watched like maybe the first 30 seconds to a minute before I got revelation. And so I'm just going to read to you. I was led to do a word study on "in the dust," that phrase in the King James Bible. Now, not every occurrence is pure, like in that, like in the dust, in that order. Sometimes it's in the dust in the verse somewhere. So it's not all pure ones, but I did go through some of the ones that stood out, okay? So it's in 39 verses, but not pure, okay? So the first one is the first one that stood out to me was Genesis 3:19. You came from the dust and you'll return to the dust. Okay. Genesis 28:14. Your seed will spread north, south, east, and west. Number 3, Exodus 8:17. All of the plagues came from the dust. The lice, the flies, the frogs, the locusts. Everything on this planet comes from the dust and will return to the dust. The only difference is when you are in Christ, you raise from the dust and become glorified in Jesus. So you have to choose if you want to stay dust or if you want to be raised to condemnation at the great white throne, or you want to be raised to glory and praise and well done, you endured, you made it, you are finished. Which one do you want? I know which one I'm voting for. I don't know about you, but if you don't know God, ask me how, okay? I will help you. If you need help, comment down below. I will help you, okay? All right, so the next one. So anyway, you got that, right? All of those plagues came from the dust. 2 Chronicles, the dust. So David, he was made king over all of the peoples of the earth, the multitude, the dust. We are like dust. We are grains of sand. We are dust. Okay, so without us or God on the planet, okay, without us made in his image or God himself on this planet, everything will return to dust. The enemy cannot create. They can only imitate, and they can use us to create. Okay? So without us, think about those shows where civilizations, if left unattended, completely return to either desert or forest, or it's barely noticeable as a civilization anymore. So without us, everything returns to dust. So the earth reclaims the uninhabited. Our job from the very beginning, was to steward the earth, was to take care of it, was to plant, sow, reap. That's our job. We were to care for the animals of the earth. That's our job. We were to take care of the garden and to take care of all of creation. Everything that we need to survive is free. You know, my husband and I love Hawaii, and it's because it's so beautiful there. And it costs an absolute fortune to go there and to stay there and to get a car there and everything else. But once you're there, everything is free. Nature is free. God's beauty is free. I don't know how many of you have seen that kayak commercial where there's these creepy dolphin hybrid looking cabal dudes, and there's even look at the symbolism on the table. That's all I'm going to say. They're sitting around a table at a resort that's vacant, and they're the only ones there except for one human. And they turn around and they're like, "How did you get here?" And he's like, "Kayak." They told him that they made it impossible for anyone to get there but them. Made it so expensive that no one could afford it. But the commercial was that this one human could afford it because he used kayak. I'm just saying, start to look at the symbolism around you. They tell you what they're doing, and they're not hiding it anymore. It's blatant. All you have to do is open your eyes to see it. Please, open your eyes to see it before it's too late. As in the days of Noah, the doors will be shut. At some point, God shuts the door and says, "Okay, you didn't decide. Calamity will now make your decision for you." And you will then either have to choose to follow the beast and the darkness, or follow the light. And if you follow the light, at that point, the darkness is in control and they will kill you. So what I suggest, please, 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 please get on the bus before the door closes. Please, please. It's a free gift. You don't have to face condemnation. You don't have to face shame. Anything you've ever done will be forgiven. All you have to do is ask and accept the free gift. You have to put yourself on your knees and humble yourself and say, I can't do it. I can't do it alone. I've tried and I've tried and I've tried. I've tried to do things on my own. I've tried to accomplish things on my own. And all I do is just keep swimming upstream. I keep struggling. If you're tired of struggling, turn around. Go with the flow. Stop swimming upstream. God has the perfect plan for you. All you have to do is bow to him and let him be sovereign. Let him take the wheel. Let him take the pen. He's the author of your story. He's the author, the redeemer, your salvation. Let him finish it. It is finished. If God wants all the glory and all the credit, sit down. Let him do the work. He'll do the work in you. But you have to sit down first. You keep trying to do it on your own, he's going to go, okay, let's see what you got. Come on. You want to keep struggling. You want to keep failing. Keep trying to do it yourself. Get off my soapbox. Okay, so everything we need is free. You don't need power. You don't need power tools. You don't need refrigeration. You don't need all that stuff. You don't need it all. You want it. You want comfort. You want houses made with hands. I don't want to do dishes either. I really like my dishwasher and I really like my washing machine, but I love God more. And I know that his plan is better than my plan. His ways are higher than my ways. His understanding is better than my understanding. We lean not on our understanding. He's asking us to trust him. He wants us to be like little babies, sucking at their mother's breast. He wants us to depend on him for everything, to come to him for everything, every question. You know how I do it? I ask my questions and I walk away. Eventually, in the days and weeks to come, whether it's being led to a video in the algorithm or some other way, he answers my questions. You just have to be willing to listen. You have to be willing to give him back the pen and let him take the wheel. You can choose. You can choose to keep swimming upstream, or you can turn around and go with the flow. It's up to you. Okay, so my point there was Noah didn't need any power tools to build his ship, and yet he built a ship that was 450 feet long in our American terms, 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high, with an 18-inch opening all the way around the top, underneath the roof. Okay? All of this with no power tools. Granted, it took him 120 years, but he did it. God has given us everything that we need. All right, so here's a few more verses. Job, there's a lot of dust and clay and all of that references in Job, so I suggest you just go read Job. But Job 4:19, we are the houses of clay. This is our tabernacle. It's temporary. When we die, we return to dust. That's just the way it is. It's a fact. You can choose to rise or stay dust and face the great white throne at Judgment Day, because we all are raised, whether you want to be raised or not. The difference is you can spend your days after you die in darkness waiting for the great white throne, or you can spend your days in the temporary heaven waiting for the rest of us to all be caught up, because none of us gets to go without the other. None of us is raised before the other. We all come to glory at the same time. So, do you want to wait in darkness, or do you want to wait in heaven with Jesus? I don't know for sure. I'm not positive on everything. These are just the things that I think about in my spirit. And I know that there's people who have near-death experiences that talk about how beautiful heaven is. And I know that there's people who talk about that there's nothing. And those people who experience nothing, I fear for their souls. That's all I'm going to say. I don't know for sure. We're all just guessing and trying to interpret. So, anyway, okay. Anyway, so those dolphin things, hybrid, cryptid, they're telling us what they're doing. All right, so there was another one in Job. Job 7:21. We sleep in the dust. We die. Whenever it talks about sleeping, it's really talking about death. A lot of times in the Bible. Context is king, obviously, but a lot of times when they talk about people sleeping, it's people dying. Psalm 7:5. Let the enemy persecute your soul. Lay down honor in the dust. Humility. Isaiah 2:10. Enter into the rock. Hide thee in the dust. Isaiah 26. This one you're going to love. Dead men in the dust shall live together with my dead body. The earth will cast out the dead. That's a rapture verse if I've ever heard one. Isaiah 65:25. No more predators. The lion will lay down with the lamb. Daniel 12:2. Those that sleep will awake. That's a rapture verse too. The part about the near-death experience. So that, I don't know if that definitely came from the Lord, but I kind of think that that's the way it is. This is something that I think I heard, but I'm not positive, so take it to the Lord. Verify it for yourself. So here's what I think I heard. Those who have a near-death experience and experience nothing are those who would rise to shame and everlasting contempt, eternally dead, rest in silence and wait for judgment in the great white throne. The dead in Christ await the rest of family in the temporary heaven. This heaven and earth are passing away. And that's where I think it ended. And then I wrote, the dead in Christ rise first. None are glorified before one another. And then here's where I think he started speaking to me again. America's children, the world's children, are being taken, stolen, used, abused, broken, stolen innocence. Me, this is what I said, what can be done, Lord? And he responded, shine a light in all the dark places. What is done in darkness must come to light, must come to light. The more of my church who wake up, the more that will be able to stand up. It is your field. I am the shepherd. I reclaimed it for you. Step into my grace. Step into my glory. Step into the power of God, of faith and obedience. Jericho, the walls came tumbling down with only a shout. Belief without seeing. Belief without seeing. With obedience, you access God's power. With obedience, you become his child and inherit the kingdom. And all of the power, all of the riches, all of the glory are yours. Just accept the free gift of forgiveness and salvation. No condemnation. What are you waiting for? If you need help, comment down below. Jesus said, you will do even greater things than these. Believe. Healing and miracles are for right now, for today. We don't need healing on the other side of heaven. We need it here. Those miracles are for today. We need to learn to properly divide the word, okay? A lot of people are making mistakes because we don't know how to properly divide the word. The it can sometimes be confusing. Sometimes we can start out in a verse talking about something that's happening in present day Israel, and then by the end of the verse we're talking about now, or in that day we're talking about the future and the rapture. So we have to learn to properly divide. Okay, so back to the word study with dust. Nahum 1:3, the Lord is slow to anger. Okay, so you know about in the end times how it talks about weird weather patterns. Well, here we have a thing that says a whirlwind. Is that a tornado? And storms. He's going to take the wicked down with whirlwinds and storms. I'm wondering about tsunamis on the coasts, you know, because it seems like he's gathering all of his people inland, telling people to move to Texas and things like that. And so much of the chaos is happening on the coasts. You know, there's a Navy map out there that says future. Anyway, I'm just going to put it up. I'm going to put it up here for your consideration, but I'm wondering, where did they get this and why is it labeled a Navy thing? God knows the end from the beginning. Time doesn't exist. It just makes me wonder about, you know, in end times, weird storms, weird weather. He will punish them. Is he gathering the wicked on the coasts? I don't know. On the islands? Think about that for a second. Is he gathering them on the islands? Think about all of these billionaires that are building bunkers. Where are they doing it? Okay, so in that verse it says that he's slow to anger and will not acquit the wicked. He will punish them. Just a thought, there's a verse in there that says that the mountains and the islands will be moved from their places. Something to think about. So, tsunamis? I don't know. Anyway, think about that. Think about that. Tell me what you think about that Navy map. It's kind of curious. Where did that come from? Plus, all the way up the Mississippi Valley, California, Little Egypt, Madrid fault line. I have a really interesting post on Twitter. Maybe I'll link it. I'll link it in the description down below. But I mean, there are so many coincidences to that eclipse that happened April 8th. So many things. So many not coincidences. I'll link it down below and you can check out the whole thread. But anyway, all right, let's see. Maybe the Lord is gathering the sheep to safe places like inland to keep us all safe. Because I've wanted to move to Hawaii for a very long time, but it just hasn't happened for us. Maybe there's a reason for that. Anyway, he promised never to flood the earth, but he has flooded a lot of different places, hasn't he? So, is he only going to flood now where there's corruption rampant? I don't know. Things that make you go, Curious. Just things to think about. Okay, so corruption spreads like mold, like yeast, like viruses and bacteria. That's why in Deuteronomy, when God is talking about how to care for your house, how to care for people who have skin diseases, how to care for things that like mold on your house, or all of those things, there's rules. So God didn't give us all these rules to make it so that we can't have any fun or just have a miserable life. He did it so that we would stay healthy and that we would stay safe. If you really, really look at those rules, it's common sense. Hey, if you get mold on your wall, you got to do this. Hey, if your friend gets a nasty skin disease, you got to do this. So realistically, those rules were not put into place to limit man. They were put into place because he loves us and he wants to care for us. That's it. The Sabbath was so that we would rest and we would enjoy family and we would enjoy time with him. It wasn't made as a rule. It was made so that you would rest and enjoy life. The 7-year Sabbath, where they were supposed to let the land rest, that was so that they could be free to move around the country, to go to Jerusalem, to pay their respects to God, to spend time with family, to do other things than just work. But people just see that God is trying to limit us and curse us in some way. You can choose to see good or bad. I know that I don't want to be sovereign. I am just fine with him taking control of everything, because I don't want to run 8 billion lives and scooch this one out of harm's way and scooch that one out of harm's way, and oh, that one's doing something dumb. I don't want to do that. I'm just fine with letting him run the show. The hardest part is letting him run my show. We all have to give up the reins. Stop swimming upstream. Trust that it's finished. All for the good of those who love him. He has the perfect plan for you. Trust him. Give him back the pen. Let him redeem you. Let him save you. Oh, here's another thing that spreads like a virus. And this is going to be controversial, and I'm sorry. But it's kind of been on my mind lately. I've made a friend who, honestly, I'm enjoying his company very much, but a friend who got saved. So this is something that is also yeasty, okay, and spreads. LGBTQ, it spreads confusion, deception, DEI and inclusivity. It's hidden. It's a hidden agenda. It's BS. The reality is that it isolates. It gives them social leprosy. It gives them confusion. It messes with their hormones. And they don't know who they are anymore. They don't feel loved and accepted who they were. They don't feel loved and accepted who they are now. They can't go back because they've messed with their body and they've messed with their hormones. It's an agenda, and it's not your fault. It's not your fault. You're confused. It's a fallen world. Just fight against it. Trust God. Reach out to God. Ask him for help. I promise you he'll be there for you. If you come to him on sincere bended knee and ask for help, I promise you he will come to you. He meets you where you're at. And if you will humble yourself, you will walk away healed. It's confusion. It's self-hate. It's self-mutilate. It's self-separate from God. No one can stand in the sight of God. He is pure, he is holy. And us with our sin nature, he will burn us up just like that. That's why we need purification, so that we can stand in his sight, so that we can stand before him naked and not burn up. So that we can reveal and he can know. He knows everything already. But you have to, in essence, reveal it to him, admit it to him, and admit you're sorry. Be naked before God so that he can cover you in his glory. You have to take everything off in order to be covered in the Shekinah glory of God. Bow, bend a knee so you can get up healed. He can fix it all. The enemy has poisoned our air, our soil, our water, our food, and they're poisoning us with pharmacy. The enemy is the destroyer of your DNA. Your DNA is God's blueprint. It's how you get home. It's Jacob's ladder. Your DNA, coated with God's, replaced with God's, brings you to him. If you let him transform you, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. You're turning on genes that are his inside of you. You're changing yourself literally from you into him. He is doing it. He's changing you from the inside out, repairing your DNA. He's got the original blueprint, the perfect blueprint. You just have to let him. Let him take the wheel. Let him take the pen. Okay, so it's not your fault. Your DNA was messed with. Your hormones were messed with. They've been putting hormones in milk for years and years and years. Research these things, guys. They're poisoning us in our food, in our soil, in our water, in our air. You're confused. It's not your fault. But God, this is where it switches over to him. I can fix everything. I made your blueprint. If you bow, follow, obey, and walk in spirit and truth, you will be made new again. Read my word, stay in my word, and you will be hidden from the world's darkness. In me. A fire will burn inside you to stay close to me. Close is where you will find peace, love, and rest. For all who feel weary and broken, come to me. Let it all out. Cry, scream. Just let it all out. Let it all go. Let all the balls drop. I got you. But you must surrender. You must surrender the pen and the wheel. Let me finish your story. Stop swimming upstream. I am the author, the perfecter, the redeemer of your story. Without me, you can do nothing but return to the dust and the second death. With me, you rise to eternal life. Resurrection power. You rise with the same power that our Father used to raise me. Whew. Okay. I have more. I mean, he went on for quite some time. I have more, but there's a lot of people that lose attention. I don't want you guys to miss out on any of these nuggets. Maybe in the next few days, whenever I'm inspired, I listen to God. I rest when I feel tired, and when I feel inspired to get on here and make a video, that's when I do it. I'm listening to God. He's got the perfect plan for me. So I suggest that you try to do the same. Your life will be changed, forever changed. If you do, you will walk away healed. Not all at once. I'm not healed all at once, but I'm getting there. Every day I'm getting stronger because of him. He strengthens me. I can do nothing without him. But I have to remember, because this is such a good story. I've been praying for God to bring me people who I can help, people who will be receptive. I've asked God to prepare their soil of their hearts so that when I share with them that they're receptive. And he did that today, and it's so exciting. I cannot wait to share it with you. But so come back for the next one, okay? Please, because it's a great story. I think it's probably the second time that I know that I touched someone. He touched someone. I didn't do it. He's just using me. But I had to be willing to let him use me. So if you do the same, we can all do this together. It can all be a glorious world together. Eden, that was the goal. That's still the goal. All right, I gotta go. I love you guys with the love of Christ. He loves you 1,000 times more than I do. Don't ever forget that. And until the next time, bye.